welcome to Fortnight Astrology with Fiona Edgar and Craig Simpson. You can find out more about Fiona Edgar, of course, at fionaedgar.com, FIONAADGAR.com. And I'm just Radiant Creators. That one's easy to spell. So, good morning, Fiona. We're doing this at an unusual time on my end, 5:10 a.m. What time is it over there?
It's 1:10 p.m.
This is a good time since I'm kind of a maybe this will be a good time to do shows in the future because it kind of works. Like nothing has happened to distract the day yet for me. So and maybe for you too. Maybe it's still early. Well, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. You get up super early. You can't beat that Capricorn moon work ethic, eh?
Yeah. Well, for me, like it's funny where most people live for the weekend, they like holidays, all that kind of stuff. To me, I'm like, man, there's nothing like getting up at 3:30 in the morning, getting to work. I mean, I just love the mundane drudgery of life is just so phenomenal. There's there, there- there's nothing better to me than just going to work. So anybody who thinks that astrology may not play a role in your life. Yeah, I've got my Capricorn moon, and yeah, I love it. I love being working for myself at this point in life, and yeah, I'm up 3:30 in the morning, and I'm getting after it, and that's funny where most people might think that just sounds terrible. I'm like, no, I hate sleeping. I can't wait to get up and get back to work.
So what time do you actually go to bed at?
Wow, probably honestly, like 9 or 10 o'clock. It could even be 11. It could be later. It really varies. But no, around 9 or 10 o'clock, I'm getting tired. I could stay up and stay longer. That often happens. But for me, really, once I've had that couple hours of sleep, and I'm finally, done succumbing to that weakness, my body, my body's like, let's get back after it.
Yeah, that's your Capricorn side. One of my close friends is Capricorn moon, and she says the funniest things. I actually find them very reassuring because I have Scorpio moon.
Ah,
It's like a kind of like tornado full of emotions and constantly like journeying through the underworld. So I find that sense of earthiness and practicality very calming and reassuring. But something that she said to me a few weeks ago was, I feel like I'm 150 years old. And I just thought that is the most Capricorn moon thing I have ever heard.
I think I get it. Yeah, I think I understand that sentiment. I really do. Yeah, it's like everything will be okay if you just get to work. Yeah, wow. So, well, we made it through Mercury retrograde. I think now that is the shadow period over today or
Yes, it is, and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling that it is gone. That was a pretty difficult Mercury retrograde, I have to say. So now we're safe to do all of the non-Mercury retrograde type of things, such as starting a new job, new projects, relationships, anything that involves signing contracts. You should be safe to do that now.
yeah, you can even get back to optimism, a feeling of effervescence, all those positive emotions that you've been afraid to have for a few weeks, they're okay now.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, wow. Well, one theme today as we're speaking that we sent this I sent this image to Fiona earlier, but it's great. It's kind of like a take on the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil monkeys. And it's kind of people making those symbolic gestures. And it says, the truth is no longer hidden. Now people are hiding from the truth. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, wow, I don't know, this last Mercury retrograde, I think I definitely saw that very, very vividly where the truth is out there. I mean, we're at a time now, like you'd mentioned, surfing the Kali Yuga, and I think it's very true. Uh, the truth is truly available to everybody at this point. I think we're at this unique point in human history, at least within my lifetime, where it's there for you if you want to see it. If you wake up every morning, like you have a Capricorn moon, you're up 3 o'clock working. The universe, the spirit says, care about truth, and you say, yeah, of course. but it says that to everybody whenever they wake up. And most people are saying, no, no, I'd rather not. I'd rather not. I got my bag of Doritos. I'm just gonna, you know, I'm not gonna do it. So I think we really are moving into a time of, gosh, I'm just going to call it two earths: the truth seeking, truth acknowledging, truth that people that care about truth, and then those who've decided that they're just not going to do it because, gosh, the last, well, let's say 2 years, but also even more so recently, with many events happening in this country, I'm just seeing that cognitive dissonance, that desire to not see truth, to not live it. It is complete for so much of the humanity that I'm seeing out there. So anyway, that's just something I wanted to mention this
I
this
mean,
morning.
when
Yeah.
when when you are aware that we're in the Kali Yuga, it all makes sense.
Mm,
And something to take from that is that those of us that are truth seekers and we're not afraid of the truth are always going to be in the minority.
yeah.
So you just have to let this cycle run its course, as it has done many times before. I mean, the Kali Yuga people are more focused on solid matter, the material side of life. They're not really open to anything that they can't see with their own eyes. Intuitive abilities have really, really decreased. And it is a time of darkness. I think we can all see that. But it is a natural cycle that the planet has gone through many times before. So you just got to keep surfing the Kali Yuga and get on with it as best as you can.
Absolutely. That might be a good title or subtitle for your book, or maybe a chapter. Yes, you know.
Yes, I have thought of that. I have thought of that.
Mm. So we should probably get to the action. That's what everybody is waiting for. So it is right now the 7th of July. So
Mhm.
what does the next fortnight look like in the stars for us all?
Okay, so I'll start with tomorrow then. Venus, the planet of love, beauty, and pleasure, she's making a harsh aspect to Uranus. Uranus symbolizes chaos, unexpected events. So, connected with Venus, it's going to be an unexpected event connected to your love lives, romance. Maybe you meet someone suddenly, maybe something ends suddenly, that kind of thing. Then we move on. We've got a new moon in Cancer, which is happening on July 10th. So, kind of big news for Cancerians. This is like the beginning of your new year. When the moon is in its dark phase, it means that the sun is conjunct the moon in astrology. So it's kind of a new beginning connected with everything Cancerian, which is motherhood, emotions, the ability to nurture, also the maternal side of your line. It's a really good time astrologically to do any kind of ancestral work connected to that side. Then on the next day, July 11th, which is also my birthday,
Mm.
Mercury, the planet of communication, thought processes, the ability to analyze information, enters Cancer. So intuition is really going to be highlighted. You're going to be feeling things on a seeing and feeling things on a psychic level. So pay attention to that. Cancer is the most intuitive sign of the zodiac. On July 12th, Mercury, the planet of communication and thought processes, makes a trine to Jupiter. Our minds will be open. We will be more inclined to study higher subjects, maybe esoteric subjects, astrology. You can also have some pretty good conversations or communications with other people. You may get good news on this day. So, July 13th, Venus is conjunct Mars. Things get a little spicy when these two lovers come together. So, Venus, of course, is about beauty, it's the goddess of love. And then we have Mars, this young, attractive warrior, coming along to let's just say have some create some romance with her. That's happening at 19 degrees of Leo. So needless to say, it's a passionate time. It's good for romance, it's good for pleasure. I mean, it's not really long lasting, so it won't make a huge impact, but it's just going to be a good day. July 15th, we've got two different aspects forming. So the sun is in trine to Neptune. This is a good time for spiritual work, meditation, or just some good healthy escapism. Reading a book, watching a movie that isn't kind of degenerate or unhealthy. So on the same day, Chiron starts its retrograde motion. This can actually cause some flare ups of health issues. Chiron is known to do that when it's stationing retrograde. So just be aware of that. It's a time when the wounds in our life can be internalized. We can examine them, we can become our own psychologists. On July 16th, Venus is in conjunct Neptune. So this is a minor aspect, but it can still play havoc with our love lives. There can be something along the lines of deception or confusion to deal with. July 17th, the sun is opposite Pluto. You can have issues with people in authority on this day. So it could be your boss, the government. It can also be issues with the men in our lives because the sun represents males. On July 18th, we've got a couple of aspects, but they're all in conjuncts. So basically, love lives can be super intense at this time. There can be an obsessive feeling. Maybe you feel obsessed with someone, but something just isn't going as planned because the other in conjuncts involve Saturn. On July 19th, Mercury is in square to Chiron. This can be a really difficult day in terms of communication. You can have a conversation that upsets you, maybe some upsetting news, or just a battle of wills in terms of opinions. July 20th, Mercury is in sextile to Uranus. So, Mercury is the planet of our thought processes, how we communicate. And when it makes a positive aspect to Uranus, we can have a light bulb moment. There can be some enlightenment that reaches us. July 22nd, Venus enters Virgo. Venus is not happy in Virgo because she wants to be adored. She wants to wear a lot of nice things. She wants to be beautiful. She wants to be admired. But Virgo, of course, is the sign of its symbol is the Virgin. So these two kind of do not go well together. We become very cautious in our love lives, and it's a big shift in terms of comparing that to Venus in Leo, where she has been for a couple of weeks. On the same day, Venus is opposite Jupiter. So when there's an opposition in the skies, we tend to swing from one place to the other. So Venus in Virgo opposite Jupiter in Pisces, we may want to lose ourselves in a relationship, but Venus in Virgo is kind of telling us to be cautious, maybe a little bit too cautious. So we swing between one and the other. Then also on July 22nd, the sun enters Leo. So this is a fantastic time for creativity, your self-esteem. You want to socialize, you feel good about your body. It's a super positive time. I always really enjoy Leo season. And then we end that fortnight on July 24th with a full moon, and that's in Aquarius. So changes connected to your friends, groups that you belong to, group identity, and the inner warrior stroke rebel archetype is going to be activated. And that's pretty much it for the fortnight.
Hmm. Well, I'm all about Leo season. That sounds great. That's just a nice energy to move into. I'll take that for sure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Leo is just a nice energy, so I'm all about that. And also a full moon in Aquarius. Yeah, I'll take that too. I mean, that's of course it's Aquarius, so it's it has its nature, but overall, Leo season and a full moon in Aquarius, I'll take that shift. I'll take that positive energy, especially after this Mercury retrograde that we've been through. I'm
Mm-hmm.
all about some nice that I like the way those two go together, and I've often found that I think that Leos and Aquarian people tend to get along pretty well together,
Yeah.
so I like the energy of it all. Mm.
Yeah, that's the thing about oppositions is that on the surface they do appear to be quite different, obviously, but they always have stuff in common.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so they can get along well.
Yeah, it's where Aquarians might be a little bit, they maybe tend to be introverted, a little bit strange, of course. But at the same time, you have Leo, which tends to be the showman. But me being, having some Aquarian energy in my chart, I can definitely say that, behind every Aquarian's introvert is a Leo type showmanship. So I
Mhm.
think that that's going to be a nice energy towards the end of this month, and we definitely can take. I'll take it. I will take it. So I've been loving the runes. That's really been working, and I'm glad that you're taking on that path more seriously. And so, before we look at the runes, what's that book that you've mentioned? It's like Futhark, I think it's called. The
Um,
For like meditating and on the runes, and then making like the kind of like rune yoga, you could call it.
I think it was the one by, is it Eldred Thorson?
I think
I
so.
don't actually have it here, and I'm really bad at remembering like names. So
Yeah.
I think it
I'll,
was that one.
Yeah, when I comment on the video, I'll mention the book title just because I've been enjoying that and I can't remember the name either. So, but yeah, wonderful to meditate on the ruins, and also wow, when you can actually have a posture that represents that and to help kind of what a kind of whole body meditation on a particular energy that you want to work with. So it's been a great journey and continues to be. So yeah, what do the runes look like?
Okay, the runes are pretty good. So the first one that I pulled is Rido, and it actually represents a wagon or a chariot. So this is connected with travel, movement, leadership. It can be a physical journey, but it can also be a spiritual journey, which I think that we are all on, which also ties in with the stuff that we were saying about the Kali Yuga. The second rune is Wunjo. I love Wunjo, and it is about joy at its very
Mm,
essence. It's the joy of family. It's the joy of belonging to your tribe or your clan. So the last one that I pulled is Manas, and it actually represents a human. And I think that the message about these three together is that we just got to keep going and realize that we're on this journey through the Kali Yuga, the Wolf Age, Ragnarok, and just learn to live with a lot of the things that are happening. And like we always say, form your own tribe, find people that are of the same mindset as you, because there's nothing more lonely than trying to bond with these other people that are just not getting anything that you're saying. I mean, it's literally a life of isolation. So none of us want that. And it's not a joyful existence. So I just think that we should kind of gravitate towards whatever brings us joy, no matter what that may be.
yes, and oftentimes people have to go through a bit of a effort and a little bit of practice to find out what does bring them joy because, maybe we have a little bit too much Capricorn energy in the world these days because um, if you ask people, well, what do you like to do? What brings you joy? What are your interests? It can be surprising how many people will look at you and say, I don't know. I really don't have any you know and so yeah, oh my heavens, if you don't have that path, but you don't have those interests right now, definitely start to cultivate them, and don't feel bad if you don't have any, because that's really has not been written into our program. That's really an aspect of it's funny. I think an aspect of awakening, of course, along with realizing that most people are not going to do that, which is disappointing. Ultimately, it can be lonely, like you say. Is that the awakened person, they're the one who begins to have hobbies and passions and interests,
Mm-hmm.
because it seems like, wouldn't that be natural? But I would say really for a vast amount of humanity, that's just not something that they think of at all.
Yeah. Yeah, because they've lost their passion, you know? I mean, I get pleasure out of being successful. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I also have a very balanced spiritual life. Knowledge gives me pleasure. I don't even own a TV. I never watch anything on the TV. I don't really get anything out of it. It doesn't really speak to my soul. And of course, we're dealing with all of the cultural Marxism stuff on TV shows and movies. So, I mean, just for me, it's always been about my spirituality. That's where I get joy, but also spending time with other like-minded humans.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Yeah. Wow. Well, that see, do we have any I kind of ended up starting the show with the cosmic weather, what I've been noticing. So I think, how about you? Is there anything in the air that you're noticing in the cosmic weather of the world right now?
Other than the astrology, which always sums it up for me,
Yeah.
I haven't really noticed anything other than a slight ripple of rebellion. But that
Mm.
is where, I mean, that's in the village that I live. I live in a small village in the countryside, and I have noticed. I mean, I think that they're making masks optional, like on the 19th. But I noticed for the past few weeks, every time I went to the shop in my village, more and more people not wearing masks. So to me, that was a really good sign that people are just so sick and tired of it.
Yes. Yeah, I think we're seeing that the same thing here too, where um I do look at very little, I would say very little news. Well, most of the news that I look at is just because I do trading for a living. So every morning a trader gets up and they look at the news to see if anything is going to mess up their trading day. Is there any bad news that's going to mess up the trading day? And of course, looking at financial news and things like that. So I do tend to look a little bit at what's going on in the world. And I would say that I would say just looking at news and also just looking at people around me here in my city. Yeah, there's a bit of rebelliousness. There's a bit of uh, positive stuff happening. There's, uh, I would just say, cracks in the foundation of the plan that was put in play for us like almost 2 years ago. You know, I'm starting to see cracks in that foundation, because really how long that continues and its outcome is up to us ultimately. And so I begin to see a little bit of optimism along those lines, just because I see I see the human spirit awakening in people, and I see it happening in events. So
Mm.
I would say I see that too. And you know I'm really, I truly am not, when people say they're realists, that tends to be just a kind of a cover story for being a pessimist. So I try to avoid saying that I'm a realist. But um uh, I would say, I really am beginning to be more hopeful than I have been in the past. And really, it's along the lines of what you're saying.
Hmm. So, what about the financial climate? Can you tell us some more about that for people that are interested? Like, how is it looking?
Oh, okay. The financial climate. Well, of course, I trade a little in the traditional market, and then I mostly, trade in the cryptocurrency market. And I've done that for last 4 years. I've been doing that for a living. So I'm successful. So that helps. And what I see in the financial market right now is a lot of uncertainty. People are sort of keeping their cards and their money close to their chest. So, whenever traders or investors are uneasy or nervous, they're uncertain, they tend to just go to cash. They just put their money in the currency of their country or a different currency, um, and they don't even tend to go to gold or silver. They tend to just go, well, I'm going to go to my, country's currency. I'm going to hang out there until I see a better move. And so I'm seeing that globally, really. There's too much uncertainty. We have countries messing with each other. We have, one big country that wants to, that keeps threatening to invade a smaller country. And we probably know what we're talking about. The big country has this like harvesting program, if you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also seeing a lot of good stuff happen. China had really a monopoly on crypto mining, on Bitcoin mining. And that's something that made the world uncertain. And China decided to ban it. And so all the crypto miners instantly packed up their data centers and they just left. And they're going to, some are coming to this country, to Texas, North Carolina. They're going to free states that we have here that will allow them to do business. And they went to some other countries too. So, which is really awesome. People are very hopeful because of that, because it took um, basically a lot of power away from a country that has a morality problem to a big extreme. So that's kind of a good thing. In crypto, there's been a lot of manipulation of the market by big money. So one thing we're seeing in the market that's really obvious is that, I mean, big money is moving into Bitcoin to protect itself. And so I think, gosh, just in the last couple of days, I think there was like a record amount of Bitcoin purchased, like 60,000 Bitcoin were purchased over a 24-hour period. And it's all larger institutions that are doing it. So in the market, one of the things that's happening is we're seeing Russia is hedging out of the U.S. dollar, investing their their wealth as a government, I guess you'd say, into everything but the dollar. You've got China kind of following suit. You've got um, Latin American countries beginning to use Bitcoin as a standard currency, or one of their standard currencies. So we're seeing so much going on in the global market. But to sum it up, it's just that I would say in the traditional market, we're seeing a lot of uncertainty. I think people are keeping their money close to their chest. Uh, and with the crypto market, it's kind of paused also, where big money is buying crypto and then mostly Bitcoin. And of course, retail buyers like you and I, they're hedging into Bitcoin and Ethereum. And like I say, the big money has been suppressing for about 50 days now. Bitcoin's price between like 30 and 40,000. They're keeping it suppressed there. They have the ability to do that. And they're just buying massive, massive amounts of Bitcoin right now, because once they stop suppressing it, it'll rocket right to like 100,000. So we have, wow, so much going on in the world. But I would say traditional market, maybe a little bit shaky right now because it's so tied to the dollar. Crypto market, wow, it's very sideways. I can't give people financial advice. Of course not. I wouldn't do that. But because I'm not licensed to, I get in trouble. But this is a wonderful time for anybody who wants to start buying like $50, $100, worth of Bitcoin a week. This is a wonderful time to hedge a little money in there, because the whales have decided where they want to keep it. The big money, they're keeping it sideways so they can accumulate. And smart retail buyers and smart retail countries and big business and such like that, they're just buying the crap out of it. It's weird. There's this moment of, we got it at 30,000 for you. If you buy it, it'll rocket to 70,000, 100,000 this year. And this is a opportunity for people to generate some wealth if they want. You buy Bitcoin every week, set and forget, and it may do well for you. I can say that that's what smart countries, smart business, and smart individuals are doing right now. They're hedging out of all kind of uh, country currencies, fiat currencies like the dollar, and they're just moving into well, Bitcoin, and they're doing that, I would say, more than hedging into gold and silver. So this is an interesting time, and one of the things that is causing this is not to traders are always very interesting, because I may have my political bias, but when it comes to trading in the market, I really just I don't really have a bias. I see things differently there. And so the current administration in this country has, I would say, the world spooked a little bit, because we don't have an administration. We have, well, basically, I don't want to name any names, but let's just say globalists are in charge. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We don't have a leader. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we have the, you know, I don't want to say anything that'll get this in trouble on YouTube, but we have something else in control. And the world's reaction to that is an uncertain market and a tremendous amount of hedging into Bitcoin. And part of why they're hedging into Bitcoin is that even though this statement's not totally true, it is ultimately decentralized. No government owns it. And so your wealth is insured in a way because it's yours. It doesn't belong to your country you live in, and it can't be taken from you, where your
Okay.
currency certainly can be. Anyway, that's kind of my market overview, a little bit ethereal, a little bit high level, but I hope that that has
Yeah.
some value for people.
Well, I wanted to ask you something else. I
Yeah.
mean, I can kind of I'm an astrologer, obviously. I do pay attention to the planets, and obviously those have an impact on the financial and other climates. But I wanted to ask you, what about this great reset stuff? What's the deal?
Mm.
Can you see that coming?
Yeah, I can see it coming. I can see
Okay.
it coming. I think so because the the idea of that is the saying you'll own nothing and like it. And really the idea is it's going back to sort of uh, kind of feudalism, you might say, where you've got everybody's a serf, everybody's a ward of the state, and that wasn't too beautiful of a time. And we're, I think, further away from that than we used to be, but we're kind of heading back to that. And
Mm.
a lot of some recent billionaire who's, I forget his name, but well known. He was saying he really admired China, because because they keep control of their people. So, but the Great Reset, I don't want to say the guy's name because it might trigger something on YouTube, but he
Yeah,
looks
I
like,
think he he looks like the worst villain
yeah,
from a science fiction movie. Like, did they really have to have him to, you know, to explain this to the people? What were
yeah,
they expecting? He's even worse than another certain guy,
yeah,
American guy.
yeah. He wrote a book, and his book is called The Great Reset, so people can find his name. And yeah, the Great Reset is basically, the destruction of currency, and kind of a one world currency, or at least basically a country based currency. And that currency is digital, and that that's not necessarily bad, but the idea is that it has a social credit score built in, it has surveillance built in, you know they have a beautiful plan for the absolute, technocratic just enslavement of humanity. And they're
Mm-hmm.
pushing it hard. And when you look at our administration, well, if you want to know who's really in charge, it's the guy who wrote the Great Reset. It's that
Mm-hmm.
crew. And so that creates a lot of market instability and uncertainty. And that's why you'll see like Bitcoin becoming very popular with countries, with business, with individuals, because they're saying, well, Mr. Well, Dr. Evil, basically, you don't have control over that yet, and that's my best bet at a sovereign currency. So I'm going to start hedging it over there because everybody knows his plan, and that's the thing people don't get. Well, people listening to this get it, but he wrote the book. I mean, they show you their plan, right? So, like, here's my book for the enslavement of humanity. It's almost like it makes the Communist Manifesto look tame. You're just like, you're like, oh my gosh, man. Marx was a candy ass. I mean, he was just way too. He just was not heavy-handed enough to make it happen. Or Doctor Evil certainly is,
Mm.
and they mean it. And I would just say that. And that's the thing where I have a little bit of hope, like you were mentioning, seeing a little bit of that fighting spirit come back. Nobody wants to lose everything. Nobody wants to live the life that they want. I mean, yeah, we have a few, people clad in black clothes with their little hoodies and their stupid umbrellas who they want that world,
Mm-hmm.
and they fight for it. But in general, there's a lot more decent people in this world, whether they're awake or not, than these degenerates that have fallen as humans and want Dr. Evil to be in charge.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. And this going back to the yugas, this has happened many times before. I mean, I certainly, for one, don't really believe anything about, the official story that we've been told about the earth, about history, because everything, when you analyze it, it just, a lot of it doesn't make sense. But I think that we have been through this cycle a lot of times before. And one thing that we know about communism is that it does eventually fall. So maybe there's a little bit of comfort in that. I mean, it can take a long time. There's a lot of stuff that goes along with it, but Yeah, this is all part of the Kali Yuga cycle.
Yeah, it definitely is. And so, like in this country, we've got, America in a way affects the rest of the world for sure. And we definitely have the Great Reset as the administration. So it's basically like the Great Reset administration. And that's what they're pushing. And now it comes down to a fight that maybe a lot of aware people have seen coming for a long time. And it's really a fight of consciousness because you really
Hmm.
can't, you know, we even have the head of the administration had recently mentioned that, oh yeah, if you want to take on the U.S. government, you're going to need blah blah blah, and it really struck people. This is where I see people kind of waking up, where it struck so many people across the political spectrum. They thought, why are you threatening us? Like, that's insane. You've got the, you know, head of the administration. Don't like saying his name because it makes me feel kind of ill. But threatening the American people, and you just like, well, what brought that on? What? Why you know? So the fight is on, and I mean ultimately it's the good thing and also the annoying thing about it is it's a fight that can't be fought physically really. It's
Hmm.
fought spiritually. It's all about the spiritual balance of the world. And I mean, not to belittle the people who are not awake, but ultimately every individual that's awake has the power of 100,000 people that are not. So we just got to do the numbers, and we'll see which way this thing goes. But like you said, it's cyclical, and we know the outcome.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't see how I mean, it kind of baffles me that they didn't see this the very first time that they heard him talk. And I guess that's why it can be so frustrating as a more awake person when it's so obvious to people like you and me, but the rest need, well, they catch up when it's too late, don't they?
They do. They do. And with this, like current administration we have in this country, and then also the Great Reset, which is ultimately global, it is. Uh, and if, so they made their plan very clear. I mean, there are the Georgia Guidestones. Anybody can Google that and find out what they say on the Georgia Guidestones, which is like the globalist, technocratic, vision for the world. They made a monument to themselves in their plan. they,
Mm-hmm.
they wrote a book, The Great Reset. Check this out.
Mm-hmm.
They tell us what they're going to do, and people go like, "Yeah, well." So I do think that we're at a point now where everyone is going to suffer from the mistake of allowing this. You know, from whether you were aware and you knew better, or you were not and you didn't. I think that we'll all suffer a bit, and that will help to wake up some that are not awake. Uh, we'll see what percentage that is, but one way or the other, we'll complete this cycle. Like you said, as you mentioned it, there is comfort in knowing that this has happened before and it'll happen again. It's what we do here on Earth.
Yeah, and we are eternal.
Yeah.
We're our spirits are eternal. So that's something that we need to put into perspective, that our life on Midgard is only really for a brief moment. And
Oh,
when
exactly.
when we fall, we will also rise again at some point.
Oh yeah, it was like we had. I talked to Ole Demigard on the Radiant Creators show. He's a guy he's been studying the deep state, etc. Before it was cool. He's been doing it forever. And when it comes to this time, his comment was, "Oh, if you're awake, you'll be fine. You might die, but but you'll be fine. So don't worry about it."
Yeah, there's nothing to fear about death at all. I mean, that's really the Abrahamic religions have really pushed that. So people are fearful and they don't want to die because they're scared of what's going to happen. But as a pagan, I do not fear death at all. The thing that I do fear is, complete loss of freedom.
Oh yeah.
Then you might as well be dead.
Oh, exactly. It's worse. People, um, yeah, fearing death is to me kind of silly. It's not that I don't have things I'd like to do today. I'd be kind of disappointed if I died right now on a certain level. But at the same time, yeah, fearing death is a little silly. And I think most people who have some wisdom know that there's worse things that can happen to death. Death is going to happen to your body no matter what, today or tomorrow. But living life in a cage with no hope, that's way worse than death for the
Hmm.
aware human being.
Yeah, death is the only thing that we can be sure of in life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, with all this uncertainty, with the battle of consciousness being on, we do have this like universal bad guy. We kind of have this Darth Vader, this Doctor Evil. So I mean that's kind of wonderful to make it that clear. It's like it makes things very easy. And the battle is one of awakening. I definitely would say to the people who are awake, who are aware, who are getting after wisdom and have been for quite a while that every day do your thing. I really think that's just so important is that cultivate your interests, cultivate your passions. You know, what can you do every day is kind of a template that will get you further, that will bring you happiness, that takes you closer to the life that maybe you have the life you want, and that's good, but it could always be stronger and better. What template could you follow every day that would be a real connection and experience of life plus getting further down the path. And I think that really, if you live today because you followed your template basically of what a vibrant life is, um, then you won. Really, you kind of won the day. So if if you get taken out in the coming battle or the battle that's underway, then you won anyway. If you were happy today and it's your last day, you won. You won the greatest battle already.
Yeah, exactly. So nothing to fear.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this was a unique show. I think maybe we will be able to be a little bit more consistent. I'll mention that to everybody. We try to be consistent. We live in different places of the earth and the time is very, very different. And we both kind of, you know, work till we drop every day. And sometimes it can be hard to get things scheduled, but maybe this will be what works because if 5 a.m. is perfect my time, I've been up for a while and it's kind of later afternoon for you. So everybody we will try to be more consistent. Maybe we have found a time slot that really works.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. I think so.
yeah. Well, if there's nothing else, I look forward to uploading this. I'll put a link where you can get it, and I think this is going to be fun. I look forward to everybody's commentary. Tell us what you think because this was fun.
Yes, it was. And I look forward to doing it in a fortnight. Thanks, Craig.
Oh, thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.